What's up guys, Ross from RV Tips and Travels. Today we're going to cover the essential items for your RV. We have a lot of things to cover today. I know it took me a long time to figure out my essentials list, so hopefully this video saves you some time. Now there's a million essential videos out there and the definition of essential may be different from person to person or video to video. So I came up with 4 categories: necessity, repair, convenience, and safety. And my thought is that each of these items should fit into at least one or more of these categories. These are the items you want to have on board before you go out on your trip. The first category is necessity items. These are the items that you're going to need to use and operate your RV while you're on the road, but they don't necessarily come with the purchase of an RV. I'll also cover repair essentials. These are the items that you may need to make adjustments or minor repairs while you're on the road. Convenience essentials are items that are going to make your life much easier for the things that you have to do to your RV. Not the things that you want to do, but the things that you have to do while you're on the road. And last, and probably the most important, are safety items. These are the things that you want to have in your RV in case of a number of different emergencies. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show you guys a safety tip that I have yet to see anyone else mention that I think is really, really important. First, you don't have to write all this stuff down. Sit back, relax, enjoy the video. I'm going to put a list of everything we talk about today with product links down in the video description. And since most of the items I'm going to cover today fit into more than one category, we're not going to go through this list in any specific order. First, you're going to need a fresh water hose, and there are 3 features that I think are important when purchasing a water hose. First, if you plan on drinking water from your connection, you'll want to look into getting a water hose that is rated drinking water safe. Second, get at least 50 feet of hose. From personal experience, I've been to campgrounds where 25 feet was not enough to connect from the hookup to the camper, so I would recommend getting 50 feet of hose, whether that's one hose or multiple hoses that you can link together. Third, get an expandable hose. I know the popular expandable hose these days is 0G. You don't need to get a 0G hose. Just get something that's expandable. Because they don't kink and they lay nice and flat on the ground, they are much easier to set up and tear down with. Some people use inline filters that are disposable. Some people build a complete water filtration system in their pass-through storage. I can't tell you what is right for your family and your budget, but you should get a water filter. Even if you're not drinking the water from the hookup and you bring bottled water, it will still keep all of your lines clean and running smoothly through your camper. Water pressure regulators are absolutely essential for RVs because campground water pressure can be higher than what your RV is rated for. You can get adjustable pressure regulators with gauges on them, or you can get preset regulators that limit the flow of water through a specifically sized hole inside the fitting. Either one is going to do the job. A good benchmark is to be somewhere between 40 and 45 PSI. My water pressure regulator is the first thing connected to my water hookup so that I know everything after that is regulated flow. An important item is a surge protector. It's a very inexpensive insurance policy for your RV. Now there are hardwired options and there are portable options. It's important that you do your research on surge protectors so you know exactly what you're getting and it fits your lifestyle and your budget, but I would highly recommend having one. The sewer hose, another item you're going to need for your RV. We've only ever used the Camco Rhino-Flex, so that's the only sewer hose that I could really recommend. I'd also recommend getting something that will reach at least 20 to 30 feet. Along with your sewer hose, grab yourself a clear attachment that you could see when your tank is empty as you're dumping, and make sure that you carry a box of rubber gloves with you too. Black tank maintenance is one of the tasks that you're probably doing most often in your RV, and it does need to be managed while you're on the road. Make sure you have black tank treatment with you. We have used AquaChem and Happy Campers, and I would recommend both. And if you want to learn more about black tank management, we've already made a video on that. I'll put a link to that video down in the video description below if you want to check that out later. A 5-gallon water bucket could come in handy for a lot of different reasons. If you're dry camping and your water pump fails, you can access your water by draining your water tank into your bucket. You can carry firewood with it. When you store it in your RV, you can put things in it so it doesn't really take up that much more space. And you can cover your tongue jack when you're parked. X-Chocks not only chalk your RV, but they stabilize your RV as well by basically eliminating your wheels from moving at all. X-Chocks may borderline on the essential item list, but I would highly recommend them. In conjunction with your stabilizer jacks, they will just make your camping experience much more enjoyable. And you should also still have a set of standard wheel chocks along with your X-Chocks. Never rely on X-Chocks alone to chalk your RV. Leveling blocks don't come with an RV, but you're going to need them to level your camper if you don't have an automatic leveling system. There are a couple options available. There's stackable blocks, which is what we use. There's the Anderson style levelers, and some people just cut their own boards to use as leveling blocks. And besides just making your camper level side to side, most manufacturers will tell you to have your camper level before you open the slides. So you're going to need these. And of course, if you don't have an electronic leveling system in your RV, you should also carry a level with you. If you ever get stuck on the side of the road and have to walk or work around your RV, which you shouldn't if you don't have to, but if you do, invest in a nice, reflective, high visibility vest. It will make you easier to see by the traffic on the road until you can get your RV safely off the road, and it could save your life. Along with the high visibility vest, you can also pair that up with road warning markers to increase visibility. Not only will a flashlight help you if your power is out, but they'll aid in visibility if you need to look at a fuse box or something that's behind a panel, like a converter or an inverter, if you need to look at something underneath your RV or anywhere that's poorly lit. I keep a flashlight in my nightstand, and I also keep one in the middle of the RV right next to the large windows. You also want to keep an inventory of extra batteries, not just for your flashlight, but for all the equipment in your RV that uses a battery. I found this really nice battery organizer that separates all the batteries. I'll put a link to this down in the video description below. Your owner's manual, there's a lot of information in here, and if you don't have the hard copy that came with the RV, you should be able to find a digital copy online. This one's pretty much common sense. Know where all your fuse panels are and keep an extra set of fuses in your RV with you. PB Blaster could come in handy if you ever need to remove rusty bolts while you're on the road. You can substitute this with something else like WD-40 or another lubricant, but I've always been a fan of PB Blaster. Having a first aid kit in your camper is common sense, but I want to elaborate on this real quick. First, get a nice big first aid kit, one with a lot of things in it. Don't get one of these tiny little travel ones. Second, you should add this to your winterizing and your de-winterizing list. When you're winterizing your RV, you want to take a look at your first aid kit and remove any liquids or ointments that may freeze over the winter. And when you're de-winterizing, you want to check for expiration dates on any of the medicines that are inside your first aid kit, so that you can replace them before the camping season starts. Rain ponchos and umbrellas. Do I need to explain? No? Okay. Don't forget to check to make sure that you have propane before you head out on your trip. And if you're going to be camping during a time where you may want to turn the heater on, take a look at investing in a nice ceramic heater for your RV. It allows you to heat your RV at the campground's expense, and you don't have to use your propane. Now, a dog bone adapter can borderline on the definition of an essential RV item, but it can be a lifesaver. Basically, this item will allow you to plug a 30 amp camper into a 50 amp receptacle. You can use the dog bone to plug into another power source that may not be the same as your RV as a temporary fix until your other issue gets figured out. Get yourself a backpack. If you ever need to leave to pick up supplies or travel on your own, a backpack can be a lifesaver. Is it essential? Maybe that's up for debate, but they can come in handy in a lot of different emergency situations. Most RVs come with a fire extinguisher. Make sure that you have one and make sure that it is charged. If you see a button on the top of your fire extinguisher, press that down, let it go. If it pops up, then you know that it is charged. If it doesn't pop up, it's probably time to replace it. Keep a roll of Eternabond tape with you in case you ever need to patch any holes on your RV roof while you're out. Eternabond tape can also be applied to damage on fiberglass siding or aluminum siding as a temporary solution to keep water out. And it is a permanent solution for roof repairs, and you don't have to wait for it to dry. I would always recommend bringing some bottled water. It will come in handy if you ever need to travel away from the RV in case of any type of emergency. A utility knife is a no-brainer, right? There's a million uses for these. I always keep utility knives in my RV. So next we're going to cover the tools that I carry in my RV, and I know this may open a can of worms in the comment section below, but that's okay. In fact, I want you guys to comment on things that aren't included in this video. Let us know what you're carrying as an RV essential so that everybody watching this video has access to as much information as possible. I think the takeaway from this section shouldn't be for you to just copy the tools that we carry, but more to think about, hey, what situations can I be in when I'm out on the road that I may need to use tools? You're going to want to build a tool inventory for your camper based on your camper, based on your physical ability, based on your budget, and your experience with making repairs. When talking about tools, probably one of the first things that comes to mind for a lot of people is getting a flat tire. So there's different types of jacks that you can get for your RV. I think the bottle jack is probably the most popular with RVers. We have this ramp that you can drive up on. It will lift the other axle enough to change the tire. In addition to this, make sure that you have a breaker bar or an impact wrench, and make sure that you have all the correct sockets to remove your lug nuts. One thing worth mentioning, on some RVs, the size of the lug nuts on the actual wheel hub may differ from the size of the lug nuts holding your spare tire on your RV. So that is something that you want to check to make sure that you have the correct socket sizes. In fact, having a nice socket set with a ratchet and a couple extensions is also a good set of tools to put in your RV. While on the subject of tires, you also want to have an air pump in your RV, whether that's an electric air pump or an old-fashioned manual pump, and keep a tire pressure gauge with you as well. I also carry a power drill to raise and lower my stabilizer jacks. It's just easier and quicker than using a manual crank. It's personal preference if you carry electric tools or if you carry manual tools, but if you do carry electric tools, make sure that you have the batteries charged before you leave and a means of charging those batteries while on the road. So let me show you some of the tools that we haven't talked about that I keep in my tool bin. So in case I have any plumbing issues, I always keep a few extra SharkBite PEX clamps along with the crimping tool as well. This is the ratchet for the X-Chocks. It's essentially a 3/4 inch ratchet. I keep 2 hammers with me, just a standard hammer and a rubber mallet. If there's any point in time where I may need ratchet straps, I do keep 2 extra sets of ratchet straps, a measuring tape, a hose nozzle in case there's anything I need to spray down. This is the manual crank for my electric tongue jack in case for whatever reason I don't have power. I can use this. This is just a 19mm socket. I've already talked about knives, but this is another one that I keep in my tool bin for whatever reason you may need a knife. I always keep a roll of electric tape in case there's any electrical repairs that I need to make. Now I've already talked about sockets, but I do keep a channel lock and an adjustable wrench with me as well. Of course, I also keep a screwdriver with a couple different bits, both Phillips head and flathead, and duct tape, of course. I keep a few extra zip ties in case there's anything that I need to tie up. I keep a roll of Teflon tape. It looks like I probably need to replace this at this point. Needle nose pliers. I keep an extra hitch pin in case the one I have on the front of my trailer gets lost. I keep an extra lock pin for my hitch. And last but not least, an extension cord. Now, before we wrap up, I want to talk about one more thing that I think is very essential, and it's a great safety tip that I want to share with you guys. Periodically check to make sure that all of your emergency windows open properly. And if you camp with children, it's of paramount importance that they know how to operate the emergency windows. Even if they're never left alone in the RV, it's important they understand how to use these emergency windows in case you become incapacitated. Getting them out of the RV to seek help may save a life. Now, as soon as I finish this video, I'm sure I'll think of something else that I probably could have put on this list. So I'm counting on you guys to put the essential items that you carry that aren't in this video down in the comments below, so everybody has as much information to look at as possible. There's a link to every product I talked about in this video down in the video description if you want to check those out. And if you found this video helpful, please click that like button, and we hope that you consider subscribing. It helps our channel grow so we can continue making RV related videos for you guys. That's all for this episode. Until next time, happy camping.